Hey, I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC 198. But before I get into that, I'd like to plug my own author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. I am an aspiring author specializing in the fantasy genre, and you can support my journey of being an author by buying my first novel, an action adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $8.95 at www.chrismoldon.com. Also, on my website, you can check out free short stories. You can check out other stories for sale that are mainly um, collections of short stories, blogs which are updated weekly, and the Writer's Talk web series, which is just me talking everything writing. So, on to the card. My picks, not so good. I only got six correct. One fight did go to a draw, but otherwise it was not a good night of picking for me. Um, Definitely something. I mean, definitely there were some good upsets here that I personally didn't foresee like two of them. I definitely I didn't foresee at all. Barberena versus Alves and Anderson versus Hua. Stipe beating Verdum wasn't outside the realm of possibility. I remember some guys in the prediction videos were actually asking me, "How is Verdum not a confident pick for you?" I'm like, "Dude, Stipe's good. Like, he's a good boxer. He hits hard, and he's a good wrestler, and he has good cardio, and he's tough. That's enough. Like for heavyweight standards, that's excellent. You know." Um, it's definitely a strange thing, just speaking for the card overall. But it's not like it's almost like when upsets happen, it's when a guy has an apparent weakness and it just shows itself at like its most apparent level against this certain opponent that can greatly expose it. You know, like Alves. You know, it's like it's someone. It's funny because check out the production video on the comments. Someone asked me, "Oh, how do you?" They talked about Warley Alves. How do you think? You know, how this guy's got to be a really confident pick. I think someone asked me like, "Is this guy like a really confident pick?" I just don't see how he can lose. And I actually say this. I say if he fights like he did against Alan Jobon and gasses out in the and just puts everything he has in the first round and gasses himself out, then yeah, he can lose to Barberena, who's really tough. And then like that's what happened. It was just like I was like it was weird. I didn't pick Barberena to win, but it's like wow, it just happened. Like it doesn't happen against Colby Covington. It doesn't happen against um, Nordine Talib. It happens against Brian Barberena. Like it's the strangest thing, you know. Um, Had a really egregious pick with Lineker versus Font. That was a bad pick on my part. Um, Another one is like Cummins versus Noguera. That one was like a case of also just I know that Cummins has a bad chin. I know he's not a great striker, and he's mainly a wrestler. And it's like, okay, he can get knocked out because his chin's a liability, and Nogueira's a good boxer who hits hard. But his takedown defense is just like, it's okay. You know? It's not great. It's not bad, but it's okay. I would have thought, like, Cummins should be able to take him down quite consistently. And then Cummins fights like an outside range and at times boxing game with Nogueira, and I'm like, oh my god. So I'll get into that. Bonuses: Miocic and Souza earned performance of the night, while Tornado versus Medeiros took fight of the night. Certain things to note: controversial judging. Some people were saying Wakana versus Tukugov. I actually thought Wakana should have got the win there. Who Shogun versus Anderson? I know a lot of people found that to be quite controversial. I personally did have it for Anderson. I didn't, because if you're thinking it was what the first and second round that Shogun won, it's just a case of like, well, Shogun in that second round didn't do much of anything except at the very end of the round where it looked like I don't even know if he really dropped Anderson, but it like he grabbed his leg, and I can't tell if he just tripped him or like pushed him down or dropped him or legit dropped him. But I didn't think that was enough for Shogun to win the second round. That Anderson got like two takedowns. I thought he was even out striking him at times. Um, so yeah, I thought that was a bit controversial as far as judging goes. And yeah, let's just get started. Stipe Miocic defeated Fabricio Verdun by knockout in the first round. So the last time that Verdun was knocked out, like knocked out cold, was against Junior Dos Santos. He does have a really good chin. Um, and Stipe hits hard for sure. Most heavyweights do. You know. Um, Yeah, no, he can drop guys. Sorry, I was just kind of thinking of other fights that like Stipe was, and then of course like he like drops Orlovsky and then like some other fights too. So I think he dropped Junior Dos Santos as well actually. Um, I mean, what can you say? I remember watching this fight with my buddies. And the first time Verdum ran wildly at Miocic while throwing punches, totally square and kind of off balance, I was like, man, man, I wish Verdum wasn't like running at him like an idiot. Like seriously, that's what happened. He gets clocked once, and it didn't really do much to him. And then he does it again, right? He does it again, and just gets knocked out cold. I mean, just straight KO. Just one punch KO right there. And he's getting up in disbelief. Like he doesn't know what happened. And I'm like, wow. Like, you know, like I said, like Stipe is just good, but man, okay, let's just say, I think it has to be said right now, there just are not any dominant champions at heavyweight. I mean, this is just, there is a heavyweight curse. I don't know if it's a curse per se, but just like no one fighter is truly that far ahead of another, especially within that top five. And because these guys have such heavy power, someone within the top 10 or even top 15, how a Derek Lewis can fight Stipe tomorrow and just knock him out, because these guys have so much power. They have literal fight changing power. You make a mistake, you get hit once and you're out. I mean, that's what happened here. He runs on him quite recklessly while throwing punches that are off by that really he's really squared up. They're not going to have a lot of power, and you run into a punch, you're going to get knocked out at heavyweight. So, and then there's no one fighter that's truly ahead of the pack than anyone else. Like Junior Dos Santos can beat, Rothwell, this guy, Miocic, this guy got knocked out by Overeem. You know, Overeem got knocked out by Travis Brown, Bigfoot Silva, um, and then he's beating Arlovsky, Mir, and like some other guys. It's like Junior Dos Santos. It's like, yeah, heavyweight title, in my opinion, it's just gonna go round robin. I mean, it is just going to like Miocic. If he fights like Velasquez or Overeem next, I cannot confidently pick Miocic to win. I can't confidently pick his opponent to win. You know, it's heavyweight. I think we are at a point in heavyweight, and seeing how many title changes have happened in this division, that it's really hard to predict who's gonna be champion, who's gonna stay champion. Um, there's too many factors in there, and like everyone just has fight-ending power, especially around the top of the division. I believe the heavyweight curse is that a heavyweight champion, he can win the belt, but he's never been able to defend the belt any more than two times. So I can definitely see that with Miocic's reign. Like, he can fight Overeem next, and let's say Velasquez beats Brown, or Brown even beats Velasquez. Let's just say that, and the winner of that fight gets the winner of Miocic versus Overeem. Miocic beats Overeem. Let's just say that happens. Actually, I'd pick Overeem. Um, okay, Brown could beat Miocic. You know, Velasquez can beat Miocic. I mean, that's just the way it goes. This is the way that this heavyweight division goes. I also think a lot of fighters are lacking defense in this division. I just realized it now. Like, Velasquez got beat up pretty bad by Verdum, who in turn, Verdum just got knocked out cold due to some really bad defense by Miocic. And, like, you know, so that's the other thing, too. Even around the top, there are fighters that just don't have great defense. Um, but yeah, it's interesting nonetheless, and in a sense, almost unlikely. You know, like I thought Stipe was good. Like very good, but I never really put him in this level of like elite. You know, I was like, I never thought he'd be. I didn't think he'd beat Gino Dos Santos, and he didn't, but he came really close. And then I was like, I don't know if he'll be able to beat these like top five guys. If he's like, maybe he's number five of the top five, but I don't know if he can beat the guys above him. Then he goes and knocks out Fabricio Verdum. So, what can I say? And Verdum, worst thing to do in a heavyweight fight ever. I mean, like, well, not ever. Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor. You run at a guy who hits hard, and it's straight too. You run straight at a guy. It's like you risk getting countered, and that counter is a kill shot because you're causing a collision. I mean, Miocic's punch didn't look like it was hard, probably because it wasn't. It causes a collision. That's the thing. Um, some people are even saying that Verdum's way of striking was very Ronda Rousey esque. That is actually not the worst thing. I mean, it was just really sloppy. Surprisingly so, considering how much he's made improvements in his striking. I said this in the predictions. He's not a great puncher. He is a great kicker. He's either good, either all the way in with his knees and the clinch from the knees and the clinch in general, or he's really good with his kicks on the outside. But as a puncher, he's not the greatest, and it kind of showed itself here. I guess Miocic, I'm pretty sure he's going to get Alistair Overeem next, who won and knocked out Andrei Arlovsky last week. I think that fight makes most sense. I mean, they might go with the winner of Travis Brown versus Cain Velasquez next. But I think Miocic versus Alistair Overeem is pretty much the fight to make. It's a really interesting fight, too. It's a fight I'd really like to see. Actually, any of those, that combination works, too. Like, Miocic versus Brown even isn't the worst, you know, thing to see. It's an interesting fight, at least, and it's fresh, Then Miocic versus Velasquez, that'd be really cool, too, you know? Verdum, I mean, he can fight like a Josh Barnett or Ben Rothwell, who's coming off that loss to Junior Dos Santos next. I mean, I suppose he can fight like an Arlovsky, but Arlovsky's coming off like this extended losing streak, so I wouldn't really want to see that. And Verdum can fight Mir, who I believe might be coming off an extended losing streak too. So, I mean, there's still good fight for him against top 10 heavyweights who are coming off losses that he hasn't fought before. So, yeah, I mean, he's 38 and he's actually talked about retiring. So, I'm actually a bit curious to see how long Verdum's going to stick with fighting. I mean, he's hit so many goals. I mean, he's a first man to beat Fedor. He won a UFC title. I mean, he's just hit so many goals in his career. has one of the best resumes in heavyweight history. You know. Next fight after that, Renato Jacare Souza defeated Vitor Belfort by TKO in the first round. You know, this version of Belfort, even more so than before. I mean, it is either Belfort wins early or he just falls to pieces. It's weird seeing him on his back in half guard. I mean, he just what we're taught in jiu-jitsu is like, yeah, you should never have your shoulders to the mat. When Belfort's like on the bottom in half guard, I mean, he just has his shoulders flat on the mat and he just covers up. I mean, he's not trying to control posture, he's not trying to get an underhook or anything. I mean, he's just covering up, waiting to get hit. Jacare looked good. I don't even know if Belfort got a hit in this fight, you know? Jacare looked good, you know? Like, this is definitely a performance that makes him look good, and despite the fact that he's coming off a whopping one fight win streak, because he technically lost to, or yeah, he lost to Yoel Romero in his last bout. He's pretty much number one contender. I mean, maybe I guess there's an argument for Michael Bisping. Maybe give it to Robert Whitaker, who's come off a win to Natal. I don't think he has much of a case. So it's either Jacare or Bisping, really. But this is one of those type of wins, and Jacare is recognized as a top five, if not even like top three, top four. Well, at least top five. He's a top five middleweight, recognized as such, and seemingly a legit threat to either Weidman or Rockhold. Um, so I would like to see it. I don't really think. I mean, if they don't go with that and they've won a number one contender fight, I think it's Jacare Bisping. But otherwise, I'd like to see Jacare versus Weidman versus Rockhold. Rockhold has beaten him before, but it was a close. It was a 5 round fight. It was a good fight, and in my opinion, I thought it could have gone either way. I think I initially scored it for Jacare the first time out. So both guys have made improvements since then. And yeah, and then Jacare versus Weidman, that's just a fresh matchup, and that would be really interesting too. Belfort, I guess you can get like Lyoto Machida. I think that'd be really interesting. Or maybe like a Talis Leites next. I'm just thinking of guys come off losses. Maybe the loser of Musasi versus Brunson next works as well. I would still one day like to see Belfort versus Musasi. It looks like it'll never happen, but um, yeah. Thanks about that. Christian Cyborg Justino defeated Leslie Smith by TKO in the first round. Pretty much domination for Justino. Smith doesn't have the striking power to scare off Justino, nor does she have the defense to not get hit. So she got hit, she got clocked pretty hard, and got finished with some ground and pound. It's quite the expected victory here. Um, Justino actually has no real discernible weaknesses if you really think about it, just because we don't know. She's like almost like never been put on her back. Uh, she's always the hammer. Like you never see her in a bad position except when she fought in Muay Thai and like lion fights. So it's really interesting to see Justino moving forward, just because like it's hard to pick against her because like in MMA, I've never seen her in a bad position. I've never seen her get rocked really in MMA, not in Muay Thai, in mixed martial arts. I've never seen her actually put. I don't think I've ever seen her put on her back. Now that I think about it, I don't think that Justino's gonna fight an Invicta anytime soon. I really don't. I don't think there's any point for the UFC to do that too. I believe they kind of foot the bill as far as her purse goes when she fights in Invicta. So there's no point in not, There's no point in putting her in Invicta cards for the UFC. It's just going to cost some money. And then is, you know, she is an interesting draw for like a pay per view. She can always be at the third, like in the middle of the main card of a pay per view. That would be fine. It really comes down to who steps up for Justino next, really. I mean, if Holly Holm or Kat Zingano want to step up and fight at 140, cool. You know, Leslie Smith should just get more like mid to lower tier fight, like a Betchko Hay or something like that, It's fine. If not, Mauricio Shogun Hua defeated Corey Anderson by split decision. It's quite controversial. I think many found that Corey Anderson should have got that nod in the second round. He definitely won the third round. Here's, what happened though is Shogun dropped Anderson at the end of the first, and at the very end of the second. I can't really tell if the one at the second round was a real, if he really dropped him or if he caught the kick and just like kind of pushed him down. I can't really tell. Nonetheless, this is more of an indictment. Whether you think Anderson won or not, this is quite an indictment on Corey Anderson. Because the fact of the matter is, he does not have heavy hands, despite the fact that he's a 6'3" and a legit light heavyweight, and he just doesn't have a lot of finishing ability. That's his problem. And this is a guy that's fighting in a division as shallow as it's kind of pretty much become. Most guys hit hard and can finish you. That's the thing with this division. I suppose you can be something of a Ryan Bader, but even Bader has a pretty strong right hand that can finish opponents. So, yeah, this is not good for Corey Anderson. He looks like a guy that might win three, lose the next one. He lost to Jean Vellante, beats like Tom Lawler, beats like Fabio Maldonado, loses to Shogun. And this is actually quite an indictment on light heavyweight because Shogun, despite their age, how shot worn they are, and Rogerio Nogueira are still top 10 light heavyweights. This is a division that is lacking prospects, and then a prospect like Corey Anderson comes along and loses to one of these aging veterans. It's not good. It's not particularly good for the growth of the division when the prospects, and it goes to show the level of the division when the prospects cannot beat the veterans, especially the aging veterans. Granted, Shogun looked pretty good here. I'm not gonna lie, his leg kicks look pretty good. He's throwing in some really, there's some actually pretty sharp combinations that he was throwing in. His takedown defense, against the cage it's not so bad, but in the middle of the cage it's not that good. That's mainly when he was getting taken down. But Shogun looked slower and was breathing a bit heavy, but he did look sharp. I will say that he did look kind of sharp. But yeah, so who should Shogun get next? He's actually kind of high up there. You kind of almost have to kind of give him guys coming off losses, maybe. Like a Jimmy Manuwa, I think, is ahead of him. OSP, well, he already lost to OSP. He's lost to Gustafson. So a guy coming off a win that Shogun can fight, I suppose, would be Glover Teixeira. you know, or like Anthony Rumble Johnson, and I don't want to see that fight. Anthony Rumble Johnson crushes dudes, you know. Corey Anderson, jeez, it's a tough one. Mano would be a good one, who's coming off a loss. If you want to give him someone higher up there, you can go OSP versus Anderson, both coming off losses. I guess you put him back down in the mid level of the division. Uh, because it's just he's only been fighting for 3 years, so he can still put it all together. Like eventually, like in 3 more years, the guy could be a beast and just dropping dudes and just stopping guys. Like he could very well be that guy. He's just not that guy now. And he's being pushed pretty high up the ladder quite quickly because the division isn't that deep. Honestly, I mean that's really what it comes down to. Um, it's kind of funny too. I say this in my predictions, and it happened here. I was like, what's the thing with Corey Anderson is that guy can't defend a left hook, dude. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the punch that drops him at the end of the first round was a left hook. There's something about this guy can't defend a left hook. I'm just Tom Lawler drops him with a left hook. Something about Corey Anderson that just like he's still. It's funny. He'll look solid until he doesn't. He'll just get hit with something and hard, and then he like crashes. But he's a good wrestler. He's a solid boxer, but like for some reason, it's like I don't know if it's just not all coming together. There's still some defensive lapses, obviously. He has good cardio and good recovery, but he's just not a finisher, not heavy-handed. Next right after that, Brian Barberena defeated Warley Alves by unanimous decision. Okay, so this is I said it before, but like here's the thing. I couldn't have predicted this. Like it's funny in my predictions. I'm all like, yeah, Brian Barberena. I don't think will get finished because wait, I don't think I called a finish because he was super tough, and I knew that about Brian Barberena. It's like, okay, this guy's really tough. I also say, you can read it in the comments, so this is actually like recorded too. If Warley Alves fights like he did against Joe Bon and just gasses himself out in the first round, then yeah, maybe Brian Barberena can take over or something to that nature. Otherwise, Alves should win this one. And it's funny because like you see Warley Alves fight like Nordine Talib, right? And I think they want 2 or 3 rounds, and it's just good pace, solid striking, solid grappling. It just he's fighting conservatively. He's fighting at a good pace. He's not gassing himself out. He's not trying to finish a guy in the first round. Okay, like so it's like coming in doing a predicting this fight is like, what are we gonna see from Warley Alves? Are we gonna see a guy that's the guy that fought Nordine Talib and a conservative style, conservative and still finish them? Or are we going to see a guy that goes, crazy in the first round, almost gets a finish but can't, and then gasses himself out so the next 2 rounds his opponent can take over? Oh, that's what we saw. you know? Okay. What can you say about Brian Barberena? He's tough and won't go away. When his back was against the case. Here's the thing with MMA Lab, and this is one of the most elite skill sets you'll ever see. This is like the elite skill set out of MMA Lab, and all of their fighters across the board. I'm talking like Alex Caceres, Mike De La Torre, and of course like Benson Henderson. You put these guys up against a cage, they are so hard to take down. I mean, they are so good when their backs are against a cage. Brian Barberena is no exception to this rule. Every time he has his back against a cage, he makes a frame on like Alvarez's face, throws a short elbow. Always throwing that short elbow. I mean, every time, and his back is against a cage. It's just something about MMA Lab fighters. I know that like Benson Henderson's like part owner or something of that, and like you can tell it's something like Benson does, and then he passed it down to like everyone from MMA Lab, and you see it from like top guys to mid-level guys to like lower level guys. They are just really good about not getting taken down against the cage. Like, that's their thing, and just fighting against the cage in general. They're just really good there. Um, I don't think it's funny because Barbarenos is going to turn into one of those guys that I am going to hate predicting. Like Misha Tate's like that, Ben Rothwell's like that, James Vick is like that. That like for all their technical flaws, because like when he throws, he doesn't always. It's not like pretty, you know. Nothing he throws is like pretty, you know. It looks ugly. It's a bit wild looking at times, but like they make up for whatever flaws they have with toughness and durability. I mean, dude, the guy just doesn't go away. And, like he's always in his face, and he's always there. You know, you can't put this guy away. Um, what can you say about Brian Barberena too, except that he is a prospect killer. To this guy, you know, it's just one of those things like Sage Northcutt and now Warley Alves. And Warley Alves, too, outside of cardio, one of the biggest problems with Warley Alves, and one of my friends was pointing this out, though, is he is a right sided fighter. He only throws the right, like, he was throwing the jab a couple times and the left hand, but for the most part, he threw a lot of right hands and a lot of right kicks. Yeah, he is quite a right-handed fighter. Um, I guess you should stick Barberena with more like prospects, I suppose. Give him like Ponzinibbio, Leon Edwards, Michael Graves. Want to give him a fun fight? You can go Alan Joban versus Brian Barberena. I think that'd be pretty cool. Warley Alves is some more like mid to lower tier guys of the division. Count to FS1 prelims. Damian Maya defeated Matt Brown by rear naked choke in the third round. This was pretty much expected from Maya. It was just a grappling clinic, and take him down, take his back, get that body triangle, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, at the end of the rounds, of round 1 and 2, Maya would go for that armbar. It's the end of the round. You might as well go for the high risk move. Just, he won the round, so it doesn't matter. He eventually got to choke on Matt Brown. Matt Brown said, too, that this was a tough stylistic matchup for him. Um, you know, Maya can be on the bottom, and then he'll end up on top, and that happened in the third round, I think. Like, this is, he's just so good at taking guys down and just playing this, like, and just this amazing jiu-jitsu and like wrestling. Well, I won't even say it's a wrestling game. It's just he's so good at taking guys down and just breaking their postures. You know, it's funny how like a guy can stand while Maya has his back, and then he'll break one leg down, so he's down to the mat. I mean, it's insane. I don't even know. I, like no one teaches these techniques or something. I don't know. Like what are these techniques that Maya's doing because they're insane. I mean, they're so high level, it's so advanced. Um, with that said, there's a lot of good fights from guys coming. Here's the thing. It's funny with Maya because he's fought a good amount of division, but the guys that are ahead of him are coming off losses, but they're still interesting fights. Those two guys being Carlos Condit and Johnny Hendricks, save for the champion or Stephen Thompson or Warren McDonald, who are fighting each other. I suppose Maya versus the winner of McDonald, who he's already fought, or Thompson, would be a good matchup for him. Brown at this point should probably just get more some higher level guys, but that are also like fun to watch too. So Brown versus Condit that fight's been trying to be made forever. One guy always gets injured. Brown versus Tumanov I think would be pretty cool too, or maybe the loser of Story versus Safadine versus Brown. That'd be good too. Next fight after that, Thiago Moreta Santos defeated Nate Marquardt by knockout in the first round. Marquardt just has no chin. I mean, Really, it's so anyone that hits hard at middleweight, like I'm gonna have a hard time picking against that person. You know, heck, even someone that doesn't necessarily hit that hard, I'm gonna have a hard time picking that person to picking against that person, like not to be like Nate Marquardt. It's just yeah, Marquardt's chin is just gone. I mean, seriously. And the thing with Thiago Marta Santos too is he is quite like I don't even want to say quietly. He has not so quietly um gotten like a 3 or 4 fight win streak since his loss to Uriah Hall, right? I say not so quietly because he knocked out Steve Boss, and then he just knocked out Marquardt. I mean, the guy knocks dudes out really, really badly. I think he should get some pretty higher level fighters. The only problem is like the guys in the top 15 are coming off losses, like Dalloway, Henderson, Dan Henderson, and whatnot. Like the only guys coming off wins, I guess, would be like the winner of Brunson versus Musasi. I guess Santos versus the winner of Brunson versus Musasi would be pretty neat. Marquardt, if he still fights, I mean, just more lower to midget guys of the division. Next fight after that, Francisco Tornado defeated Yancy Medeiros by unanimous decision. Oh, he got some 10-8 rounds there. This was a fun fight. Medeiros' chin and durability is really good. I personally thought the ref should have stopped the fight though when Medeiros could not stand under his own power. I mean, now it's just dangerous, you know. Tornado, man, he throws a lot of left hands, but man, is this guy like? Has this guy just found his groove? I mean, seriously, isn't he on like a 4 fight win streak now or something like that? 5 fight win streak maybe. He just found his groove. Like his striking's improved, his defense a little better. He still gets dropped at weird times. Um, he has takedown ability. I mean, it just things are just working for him. I don't know what else to say. He hit, he blasted Medeiros. You know what the problem is with Medeiros? The guy is so easy to counter because like he'll throw a punch, he'll throw a jab, and then his hand he doesn't bring it back to his face. He has it next to his waist. He brings it back to next to his waist. He also doesn't have an exit strategy, so he punches, stands there, and just kind of drop with his hands dropped. That's how he's getting countered so much from Donato. Um, With that said, I guess you gotta give Tornado a step up in competition. Maybe the winner of like Dunham versus, or maybe like a Dunham or something like that. I suppose. Um, because he's beaten some like solid enough competition. He's been like Ross Pearson, now Medeiros. He should definitely be fighting some guys higher up the ladder at this point. Medeiros, just more lower to major guys at division for him. Next fight after that, John Lineker defeated Rob Font by unanimous decision. Okay, this is stupid of me. I'm just gonna say it right now. I'm eating crow here. Here's the thing: Lineker did anything he wanted to Font, and the thing with Font was that he's just too inexperienced too, and he fought a smart way of fighting Lineker, but he fought it to the point of just being a defensive shell. He was just too defensive. I mean, he avoided really getting like except in the third. I thought he got hit really hard. He avoided the brawl. He avoided getting hit with too many hits. He was moving quite well, but then he wasn't unleashing much offense on his own. I gotta stop doubting Lineker at 135. It just for all his faults, the guy he makes up for it and like being super tough. His chin is like impenetrable. Like seriously, I think he got hit with like an uppercut at this point at the fight, and it does like nothing to him. And then he does have some grappling ability, both takedown, offensive takedowns, which he doesn't use too much, but his takedown defense is actually quite solid. And then he has the body punches, which are good against these taller fighters. So he does have weapons to use against tall fighters. Gotta stop picking against this guy. I think he should get like Dodson, Michael McDonald, or the winner of Almeida versus Garbrandt next. Font just needs more experience, you know. Just fight more lower to mid-tier guys in the division. Okay. On the Fight Pass prelims, Antonio Rogero Nogueira defeated Pat Cummins by TKO in the first round. Or, Cummins' chin sucks. All of his losses come by knockout. Um, the strategy here was pretty bad too. I don't know why he was fighting from the outside and more or less in Nogueira's range. Um, and then Cummins' strength is takedowns and ground and pound. I mean, he went for like one takedown, but when he was in trouble, you know? So, yeah, Cummins' strategy here was really bad, and he paid for it pretty bad. Nogueira's still a top 10 fighter. You know, he is a guy that doesn't fight often because he's injured so much. But it goes to show the shallowness of the division that, like, Nogueira would still be a top 10 of the division, and just how few prospects are in the division because, like, not many guys seem to be able to beat him. You know, it's just that's the thing. It's just one of those things with this division where the aging stars are still top 10 guys and they just don't have prospects to beat these guys that are good enough. Cummins is pretty much where he's always gonna be too. You know, I don't think he's ever gonna fix his striking. His chin is bad. He's just gonna be like a wrestler. You know, and it works for him against like the mid to lower tier guys, but these other guys, it just doesn't work for him very well. That said, I guess Nogueira can get like a Krylov or Latifi next, who are like below him but are coming off wins. There's some guys coming off losses that are above him ranking wise, but that do make sense that he hasn't fought like Gustafson or OSP. Next fight that the one Chagas defeated and Sergio Moraes went to a split draw. I agree with this. I'm not gonna lie, I think Chagas dropping Moraes twice in the first round does warrant a 10-8, and then Moraes came back in the second and third to make the draw. I think that makes sense. Moraes is great on the ground. He's not a great wrestler. He is stupid tough, but he's not a great striker. So, like the thing with Moraes is that anyone that can like beat him up on the feet and defend his takedowns generally can win. But then sometimes he can pull a rabbit out of his hat, you know. That's the thing with Moraes. He's not a great striker. He gets countered quite easily. His defense can be a bit porous at times in the stand up. Um, yeah, there's really not much else I can say about this. It's more lower to mid guys in the division for both. And finally, Hinata Moicano defeated Zubaira Tukagov by a split decision. I agree with this, actually. I thought Tukagov just, he pushed forward a bit more. That's really what it came down to, you know. Tukagov may have gotten some of the harder hits at times, but I thought Moicano just pushed forward a bit more, seemed a more, because it was really close, except for that. He's kind of throwing a little more volume, didn't seem to fade as much, and yeah, both guys are good prospects, but I think Hinata Moicano's, I think he's gonna, you know, I can see him actually being a top 10 guy. You know, he's a good guy. He's a really good prospect. Awesome if he takes it back. Not too bad off his back either, shown against Tukagov. There's one point where he got this really nice sweep on him. As Tukagov was getting up from his guard. I mean, it's good stuff from Moicano. Smart lower to major guys in the division for both. So that's it for my post-fight analysis for UFC 198. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And please support my journey of being an author by buying my first novel, The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $8.95 at www.chrismondong.com. So that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.